Hey, what is up, people? This is Johnny, and today we're going to be doing a competitive sweep battle, and I'm going to show you the competitive guide for Clefable as well. So, Clefable actually, what I have is a level 100 Clefable with the Magic Guard ability, and with the Magic Guard ability, what it does, if your opponent tries to paralyze you, poison you, or burn you, it will not affect Clefable at all. It will have the burn on it, but it will not do any damage to your Pokemon with Magic Guard as an ability for your Clefable. Now, the moves that I have is Calm Mind, which allows you to increase your special attack and your special defense, which may come in handy for any type of battles that you may come across and you want to use a strong attack like Moonblast, which basically attacks everything. And Moonlight allows you to regenerate your health a lot, so if you have Moonlight, this will become really useful when you need to recover your health in the game, in the battle. And Flamethrower is actually really good to have Flamethrower because many opponents tend to have a Pokemon that is grass type, and if you teach it the TM Flamethrower, this will do a lot of damage to those grass type Pokemon. And many people don't know, but Clefable does know how to use Flamethrower. Now, if we look at the EV stats, I recommend having a similar EV stats to this: 158 of attack, defense 269, and special attack 227, and special defense 216, and speed 156. Now, I know that individual values that are hidden, you may not be able to get it, but try to get something similar to this type of stats, and you should be fine around doing these type of battles with Clefable. Alright, so now I'm going to show you a battle where I actually made a whole sweep of Pokemon just with using a Clefable. And one quick thing that I recommend to have for your nature is Bold. What this does, it actually increases a defense on your Clefable as well. Alright, so this is the battle that I'm going to be showing you, me using Clefable the whole time and doing some pretty good damage against my opponent, and my opponent couldn't really do anything. So he took out his Arcanine and he used Intimidate on me, and he decided to use Fire Fang, and my Clefable missed. So what you want to do first is try to get a couple of Calm Minds, because this will come very helpful even after you get the first one. When you start doing an attack on your opponent, this will be helping you attack your opponent afterwards. But if you're going against a fire type Pokemon, it's not going to do you a lot of damage to your Clefable, so you can go ahead and use Calm Mind again and keep using it as much as you can. And then when you know the time is right, make sure to go ahead and attack. So as you can see, I used Calm Mind twice in a row, and then my opponent's going to go ahead and keep using Rock Smash, stuff that may weaken my Pokemon, but it's not really very effective, so it's not going to affect me so much. So I went 3 times in a row, and I believe the 4th time I actually start attacking him so his Pokemon can finally go down. And if you can get the 4th time as well, go ahead and use Calm Mind again. So my opponent keeps using his Flame Charge, which is still not doing me any damage, but it's raising his speed a lot. And so I go ahead and finally use Moonblast, which is going to do a pretty effective move against my opponent. But as you see, it took away at least half of the HP. But since my Clefable is actually pretty strong and defensive, that it's not even going to matter if I do anything. So I decide to use another Moonblast on my opponent so I can finally go ahead and take his Arcanine down. Now, when you make it to the yellow health bar, I do recommend that you start using Moonlight, because Moonlight will restore your HP or health. So I use Moonlight so I can have more health and recover it, so my Clefable can last its battles even more as it's going. Now my Clefable is still in there, and my opponent is going to use Sweet Kiss, which I believe it confused me. I don't think it affects it. I'm not sure. I think it does affect Clefable after a couple of turns. So confusion may affect your Pokemon, since that's not really a stat that's going to hit you a lot. But as you can see, Moonblast is actually doing critical hits and taking almost half of the HP of each Pokemon that I am attacking on my opponent. And my opponent is going to keep using attacks that he thinks that he's going to do a lot of damage, but it's not really doing any much. So Clefable can become confused, but it really has a resistive of using the confusion of hitting itself. So I keep using Moonblast again, and my opponent is still going to use other attacks that have a special attack that's using more, but I'm going to keep on using Moonblast to go ahead and finish it off. And eventually my confusion will go away. It doesn't last forever. No Pokemon has confusion that will last forever, so that's the good thing about it. Even if Clefable hits itself a couple of times, that shouldn't be a really big problem. So there goes his second Pokemon down. And then I'm going to go ahead and use again Moonblast. Now Moonblast will actually start doing a really good effective damage on some trainers like this Pokemon right here, Electrocross. It just went ahead and went down to 0 HP. And he keeps using Rock Tombs. And Rock Attacks do kind of do a pretty good damage against Clefable, but if you have it at a high level already, it's not even going to matter what your opponent is doing. And he's going to send back his Electros, and he's going to take out a Bravery Bird. So this is when I decide to use another Moonblast, because I know it's going to do a lot of damage, and it's actually going to KO. Especially those Pokemon that are weak against Fairy type moves. They're going to go down out. And some are even weaker than that. Some Pokemon have more damage that goes against the Pokemon. Alright, so he took out his Mega Gallade, which is really a good Pokemon as well. But I'm just going to keep and go ahead and use Moonlight, I believe. I think I do use Moonlight right now because my HP is pretty low and it wasn't a very effective move. But Moonlight will help me get my HP all the way back. So that shouldn't be a really big issue when it comes to getting my HP back. And now I can attack it again. And maybe if you wanted to finish the battle even quicker, I should have used another Calm Mind, but I decided that I could handle my opponent. And this is where the Flamethrower comes into use. I used the Flamethrower, but for some reason it did not really do that much because this Pokemon is resistive, or it has a better defense when it's Mega Evolved. I don't know what it has, but it was pretty resistant. But it still did a pretty good amount of damage, and it did came in useful to fighting this Pokemon Gallade. Alright, so now he takes out his Charizard, and his Charizard is just there. He's going to use Inferno, and I think it burns me. I don't quite remember. I think it does, or it does not. Yeah, it does burn me. But you're going to see that Clefable, even if it has burn, no effect is going to happen to Clefable. You can use Toxic, Paralyzation, anything. It's not going to work on Clefable if you have the Magic Guard ability. That's why that Magic Guard ability is really good to have on this Clefable. And he's going to keep using Inferno. And I'm just going to go ahead and use Moonlight again. I need to restore my HP so his Charizard doesn't do anything to me or manages to take it out. And there I'm going to go ahead and use Moonlight again, I believe. And he avoided the attack. Now, that's another thing I like about Clefable. It does tend to avoid a lot of attacks of your opponents after a while. So it has a pretty avoiding attacks. It's pretty good at it. Alright, so I think this is the final Pokemon my opponent finally sent out, but he was pretty much done already. I just needed to use one more Moonblast, and that was pretty much it for my opponent. So if you use this Clefable in competitive battle like this, you could probably win a couple of battles. I recommend it. This is the way I recommend the Clefable. Some people may have a different preference, but that's how I liked it. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a nice day.